Welcome back to another episode of Important Miscellaneous Talks. I'm your host, Glass for Crossfield. We are changing the world one podcast at a time. And today we have the media legend here with us today. Please introduce yourself.
How you doing? My name is John DeMarsico. I'm the director for SNY's broadcasts of the New York Mets.
What intrigued you about the world of broadcasting?
Well, originally I was not really studying or really motivated to be in television. I studied film in college, and so I thought that I was going to go the film route. But I grew up a Mets fan, and I was nearing the end of my college career, and I was looking at internships. And I had never been. Well, I've been to New York once or twice, but I'm from North Carolina originally, so I went to school at North Carolina State. So I was looking at internships, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try to intern for SNY and spend the summer in New York. So I applied for the internship and got the job, and I haven't left. So it's I kind of fell into it by being a Mets fan. Honestly, like that's how I got
Mm.
here.
Wow, so you get to live
Yeah.
out your dream on an everyday basis, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. It really has. I thought it was a dream just to get the internship back in
Mm.
2009. That's when I was a summer intern in 2009. I did the internship from, I guess it was that summer, from like June through August. And the internship ended, and they invited me down to spring training the next year. And after that spring training, I just never left. They offered me a job to, starting off in the studio and, filling in the truck once in a while, and I kind of worked my way up from there.
You have the best origin story from any Mets fan ever. That's literally the route that they want to take. Like when you're 10 years old rooting for the Mets, you're hoping for the internship, and then you're hoping to run it one day, and you have the legit origin story of every Mets fan right now.
Yeah, it's been cool. I figured I'm watching the Mets every night anyway. I might as well get paid for
Yeah,
it.
yeah, for real. Especially with the amount of heartbreak. Lord have mercy. We might
you
as
know,
well get paid to get
yeah. I mean,
the win.
as of filming this, it's like, what are we, a week out from the Mets being eliminated? And it's I'm telling you, man, it takes a certain kind of grit to be a Met fan. It really does. I mean, only the Mets can take an 101 win season and make their fan base feel like this, man. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. This year, this was a special season from the very beginning, and it shouldn't be discounted what they did in the regular season. But man, what a bummer for it to end the way that it did.
I certainly agree. I read the story on Max Scherzer and how he might have had some mechanical issues, and I was hoping that he would get a chance to redeem himself, but that never happened. But unlike the years of Mets past, I'm actually excited for off seasons now. The Wilpons don't want the team anymore. I heard Trout might be up for trade, Otani might be up for trade, and Trey Turner. I would love for him to play New York, and Carlos Correa is likely to opt out too. So there's options.
Yeah, I think with the leadership that they have in place, uh, with the owner starting there and working their way down, I think that they are going to be in a position to contend every single season. I don't think we're ever going to see those long, losing, droughts for multiple seasons anymore. I don't think that owner has the patience or the time for losing, and so I don't see that happening. And as far as the players you mentioned, I was like, I mean, I think Trey Turner is he's one of my favorite players in baseball. He does a little bit of everything, and I love speed. I mean, it's
Yeah.
especially with the new rule that's coming into place with the pickoffs next year. I think he's going to be lethal. And I'm a little biased because he went to NC State, so
Ah,
I'm really I'm showing my colors there.
for a large portion of my life, I despise Trey Turner, but that's only because he played for the Nationals.
Hey, you embrace Max Scherzer, so you can embrace Trey Turner.
No, oh yeah, absolutely. I like Trey Turner a lot more now that he plays for the Dodgers.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I think he would fit well, and he mentioned how he loves to play at City Field too. So,
I know. I know.
Hopefully, it's amazing because years ago you would never expect to get any big name free agent.
I know. It's true. It's a shame that we have to talk about free agents and trades on October. What is it? October, mid October right now. But unfortunately, that's the life of a Met fan.
How invested are you in the games? Like, because I know sometimes I figure that I couldn't be a Mets broadcaster because I have the
Yeah.
inability to be unbiased.
I'm able to, much like, Gary Cohen, who grew up a Met fan. I'm able to sort of view the game as a right down the middle. I try to be right down the middle as much as possible because SNY is in a unique position as far as broadcasts go. We don't have any sort of initiative to be quote unquote homers or give don't say anything good about the opponent or don't do deep dives on Trey Turner when the Dodgers come to town or you know it's not really our broadcast DNA to be homers. And I think it starts with the booth. I mean, we obviously are. It's better for SNY when the Mets win for a lot of reasons.
Mhm.
Ratings, people in the building, it makes the broadcast better. The access with the players is a little better when the teams are winning. But at the end of the day, we're there to bring the event to the viewer. And from a national perspective, we like to view ourselves as not
Mm.
a regional network. We're bringing a national perspective to a regional network. And that means when we go to St. Louis, you're going to hear a lot about St. Louis history. We're going to take you through the St. Louis Hall of Fame. Or when we go to Atlanta, we're going to show Henry Aaron clips. It's not going to be a totally Mets centric broadcast. Um, we like to call it down the middle. But as far as your question goes about being a fan, I really love the sport from head to toe. It's not really about the Mets winning. I love when the Mets win because the crowds are there and it makes the broadcast better. But I'm able to separate the fandom from the profession, and it wasn't easy at first. And in fact, being a fan helped me a lot in the beginning of my career because I had all of this wealth of Mets information and history and stats and just total, like, it was just second nature for me. So that helped in the beginning as I was getting started. Um, but as it becomes more of a job that you go to every single day, unfortunately, the fandom doesn't stay as strong. Um, it becomes more of a job, and you have to be a professional about it, and you can't be a quote unquote homer. For a lot of networks, I could be, but for the SNY, I don't really want to be, truthfully, because it's SNY has established something over the last 17 years, 16, 17 years that's bigger than me. And it started with the director that was before me, Bill Webb, and he was a living legend when it comes to baseball broadcasting. He did 25 World Series and he won 40 plus Emmys. He was like the first rock star director, and I was fortunate enough to learn from him. And so one of the first things he told me was, "You can't be a fan. Don't be a fan. Call it down the middle. Much like the umpires. The umpires all grew up baseball fans. They all have favorite teams. I know some of the umpires, and I know some of their favorite teams. I would never say that, but you have to call it down the middle. You really do.
I always wondered about the
Yeah,
umpire because
of
as
course.
a Mets fan, if I was an umpire, they're getting every
Abs-
single call.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. I mean, they all obviously grew up loving baseball. You don't become an umpire not loving baseball. So they all have favorite teams. So they'll never let that out. But
What was your favorite? Who was your favorite baseball player growing up?
oh, Piazza. Piazza was my favorite player before he came to the Mets because I was a catcher. And so Piazza was the end all be all for me. And when the Mets got him, he actually made his debut with the Mets May 23rd, 1998, which would have been my 11th birthday. So he made his debut with the Mets on my birthday, which just reinforced, my fandom for him. But any of those late '90s, early 2000 Met teams, those are some of my favorite players. But Piazza was, the end all be all for sure.
Gotcha. You mentioned how you like speed, and I'm always that's like my favorite attribute in a baseball player. So Jose Reyes was
Oh
my
yeah,
favorite baseball player. And like I love like the contact hitter, the Steven Kwans of the world. I love
sure.
kind of high on base percentage guys.
I'm with you. I mean, it's something that the game has sort of
Mhm.
not embraced fully the last, I guess, every year it's gone down a little bit. Although I think this year it's starting to come back a little bit. I'll be interested to see what happens next year with the new rules in place, with only two pickoffs allowed to first base, how that changes things, and without there being shifts, it's gonna be a whole new ball game. I really think so, and I think speed's gonna make a comeback. I hope so, at least.
I think we're gonna see probably a lot more pitch outs than we did.
No, I think that's probably a fair point. But yeah, it's nothing slows a game down like speed. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects their time of game initiatives. But I part of me is a little torn on the pickoff rule, because I love that confrontation between the pitcher and the base runner when he's being held on. When you got somebody with a good move like Taiwan Walker and there's a good base stealer on first base, that's almost as good as a pitcher batter confrontation. I love that.
I think it's very unfair from the pitcher's point of view because Taiwan he was
Mhm.
very good. He was setting the runner up.
Exactly. He's got to ditch the C and D move and go straight to the A move now. So
Yeah.
that's part of his game that's going to be sort of taken away. It's also, I mean, that reminds me of Max Scherzer this year when they introduced the pitch com. He said that by introducing the pitch com, it takes away an edge that he has, because he has such a complex set of signs
Mm.
that other pitchers don't have, and that by introducing the pitch com, it takes away that edge that he had. So it's going to be interesting to how these great players react to these sorts of new rules.
Yeah, one thing I always liked about the SNY broadcast is the fun facts. When Kevin Burkhardt was there, the Steve Gells was
Yeah.
there. So that's one thing I truly admire about your broadcast, that you guys seem to go above and beyond, even at
Hmm.
visiting ballparks. So I remember Steve Gelbs when you guys went to Wrigley, you
Yeah.
found like this little, like a nearby townhouse looking kind of thing, and
Yeah.
Steve did his work. I was like, wow, like these guys are really locked in.
Yeah, our producer Greg Picker has been at SNY since day one, and he's always sort of instilled in us this establishing a sense of place, whether it's at Citi Field or it's at Wrigley Field or wherever we are, really trying to embed the viewer in where you are, where the Mets are playing, whether that's sending Steve out to the bleachers with the cup snake out in Wrigley
Yeah,
Field,
yeah,
putting Steve in the sausage race, or sending Kevin Burkhardt up to the outfield above the bleachers, the buildings they have behind out the outfield. I forget what they call it. It's we've always been we always do the game. No one does the game better than us, but we always try to do the other stuff better than everybody else too. You know what I mean? Whether it's a cool graphic, or sending Steve somewhere, or introducing a different kind of replay sequence or video package, or some of the fun
yeah.
stuff that I did this year. It's like it's entertainment. It's no different than someone going at 7 o'clock at night putting on Netflix to me. Except they're not putting on Netflix; they're putting on SNY to be entertained. So it's not. I mean, it's a sporting event, but it's still entertainment.
Yeah, I would say from the broadcast point of view, you guys have a lot of unique things. I noticed a new graphic with defensive indifference. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Uh, Ke- um, Keith Hernandez when he broke the glass.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That
See, that's sort of you know the defensive indifference thing. That's our graphics designer Dave Burke, who's in the truck with us, for probably 40 games a year. But for him to do something like that, it starts at the top at our network, with them giving us the freedom to experiment and have some fun. And then everybody, everybody wants to contribute. When things are wide open
Mhm.
and you have creative people, it really opens the door for anything. And not everything works. We love to try something, everything at least once, but not everything works. But when people have that freedom to experiment, then you get a lot of great things that come out of that.
Definitely,
We
definitely.
don't like the color within the lines. We like to kind of just, it's like a Jackson Pollock, a Mets broadcast.
Mm. How much easier does the booth make your job? Because I've listened to other broadcasts, and I'm telling you, man, Gary, Keith, and Ron is truly like the gap between them and everyone else is so significant. I'm so blessed to have them calling Mets games. How much easier do they make your job?
Oh my God. I mean, listen, Gary Cohen's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. And it all starts with him. Keith and Ronnie are brilliant and they're funny and they would be great with anybody. But Gary is the caretaker of Mets baseball history. He was when he was on the radio and he is now on television. And he is just, there's not one thing we can throw at Gary that he is not prepared for, that he can't handle, whether it's a statistic, whether it's something funny, whether it's, a Steve Gelb's report. He's just so quick and so able to react on the spot that there's nobody like him. In our booth, it's we're in sort of a unique situation. Once again, it's a lot of broadcasts have a lot of pressure from management to like I said, stay within the lines and not stray too far one way or the other. Our guys don't have that pressure. And when we throw something at them, they're able to take it and run with it and make it, a good idea great, a bad idea good, and a lot of the best stuff on our broadcast happens when the Mets are even losing, by getting blown out. We'll get out a box of baseball cards, and there's no pre-production or prep for that. It's literally just handing them a box of baseball cards, and fans love it. Or reading out of the media guide. It's stuff like that makes even the blowouts fun.
Yeah, shout out to the Jolly Olive, who I was like I actually followed the Jolly Olive on YouTube. I'm
Yeah,
one of his earlier subscribers, and they couldn't
yeah.
get his name right on air.
Oh, that was fun. That was actually funny because he and I have a decent little back and forth on Twitter. I've never actually met him before, but he's funny, and I like the videos that he does with the best of the booth stuff. Those are fantastic. But yeah, that was funny. I forget what the promo was, but Gary got
Oh,
the
for the
copy in front of
podcast.
him. Was it the podcast? It was for the actual podcast. So yeah, Gary doesn't look at the copy sheets that he has to read for the promos until they're in his hand. And so when he gets them and he gets something like Jolly Olive on there, it really it threw him off a bit. But that's Gary. He handled it great and he made it funny. So
What do we have to do to get Gary calling playoff games?
the way that works, it's a complicated process. Like
Mm.
Fox has their guys, Turner has their guys, ESPN has their guys. Gary does 150 Met games and then he transitions right to Seton Hall basketball in the off season.
Oh
He
wow.
he takes like a month off. Yeah, I don't know if Gary would be interested in doing it. I'm sure he would, but I don't know that he's ever been asked. I don't know what the deal is there, but Gary works so hard during the regular season. The guy needs a month off. Honestly, he really does. Um, Nobody works harder than Gary. He's up all morning prepping for the night, the game at night, and then when we get back from the ballpark, he's straight up to his room to get ready for the next day, and he does it every day, and he's done it every day for 30 plus years with this team. So it's yeah, as much as it'd be great to hear Gary in the playoffs, it's like the guy needs some time off because he works his ass off, like more than anybody could possibly imagine.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had no idea that it was that intense.
yeah. I mean, he's brilliant and he's a Mets encyclopedia, but
Literally.
on top of that, he works so hard. I mean, it's not an accident that he's like you said. in my opinion too. He's the best play-by-play guy in baseball.
Yeah, with baseball, it's tough because it's such a long season.
Yeah, it's a grind. That's why that 3-game playoff was like such a killer. 162 game season, 101 wins, all to be shot down in a 3-game series. Oh, just brutal.
I see a lot of people on Twitter complaining about the playoff format. How do you feel about it?
Um, I think that they had it right with the
One game.
with the one wild card. The one wild card got in. It just I think it's just too many people. It's just too many teams right now. It's
Really?
yeah, it's too long of a season to reward that many teams. And I know I sound like an idiot now with the Phillies and the Padres, doing what they did. But at the same time, this isn't football where they play under 20 games. This isn't basketball where they play under 100 games. They play 162 games. And that should mean something. I don't want to cheapen the regular season, partially because that's the games that I do.
Yeah.
So I feel like those games should mean a lot more than they actually did this year. I mean, it worked out that the wild cards got the home field advantage, but a 3-game series, I don't know, man. It just doesn't ring right with me. And the one game wild card playoff wasn't great either. I mean, that was awful, actually. I think I don't know what the right answer is, but I just think that baseball does have a problem when it comes to their regular season, because that's the bread and butter. I mean, if you're gonna invite that many teams into the postseason, it cheapens it a little bit in my eyes, at least. I mean, look at all the divisions this year that were done by August. You know what I mean? Obviously, the NL East wasn't, because the Braves went on a freakish tear. But most of the divisions were done, totally done, and so it's like I don't know. It's not my cup of tea, but I wouldn't want to be the one in charge of making a decision to fix it, because I don't know what the right answer is.
The right answer may actually be some 7 game series, but I think in order to do that, you would have to cut the season down to like a 140, 150.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna start doing 3 or 4 7-game series, you're gonna have to shorten the season or start earlier, or I don't know. It's a slippery slope. I don't know that they want to open that box of worms yet.
How does one improve their broadcasting skills?
As far as what? As far as behind the scenes, what I do, or in front of the camera, what Gary, Keith, and Ron do.
Behind the camera.
But behind the camera, it's just, and I tell this to anybody that comes in the truck that's just starting out. It's all about reps. You can observe all you want. You can sit beside somebody. You can watch. You can know everything there is to know about baseball, but it really is about reps. It's during that I talked about that in my internship with SNY back in 2009. So what I spent my entire savings up to that point. I slept on a couch in Midtown for the entire summer, and I went to Citi Field every single day to the truck, even though I wasn't supposed to, because there were other interns and I had to share days. I was like, listen, I spent every dime that I have to be here. I'm going to go to every single Met game, and I'm going to sit in that truck. I won't say a word if you don't want me to, but I'm going to be there. And so, and it's those 30 or so home games that I did that summer were invaluable for everything. I mean, obviously, however many years later here, 12, 13 years later, I'm still here. But it's all about being there. It's about being in the truck. It's about going through the grind of a full season. It's about day games after night games. It's about hopping on you know red eyes for after you know 14 inning game. It's all of that. It's about being away from your families. It's a job that is unlike any other. It's 6 to 7 months of being totally embedded with the team. You're not going out there and playing every day, but a lot of the times our crew's there before the team is to set up the truck, especially on the road, because when we get to a city, a lot of times we're not in our home truck where it's already all set up. We have to set up the whole truck for every road series. And so our crew is there at the crack of dawn, and it's, it's just reps, and it's I'm still learning. This was my third full season as the lead director, and I learn something every day. I'm a better director now than I was when the season started, and I hope to be a better director a year from now. It's I never want to stop learning, because the game is always evolving, so I always want to evolve with it. And I never want a broadcast to become stale, and that's part of the reason why I got a little bit of attention this year, because I'm trying to do things that look a little differently. I don't want to show people something just to show it, just to do it. I want it to mean something, and pick my spots and do it right. And it's an ever evolving thing, and it's you learn from your mistakes, and you learn from what works. And the good thing about our sport is that when when you have a bad night, or you do something that didn't quite work, or the game stunk, there's another game the next day. And so it's part of the charm of baseball, but also the kind of the curse, because it is every single day.
Yeah, literally. Well,
Yeah.
in that grind, what do you enjoy the most about your job?
The camaraderie with our crew, um,
Yeah.
Gary, Keith, Ron, Steve, myself, our producer Greg Picker, our associate director Eddie Warman, and our graphics producer Tom Rockland. That group, we're with each other every day, pretty much from spring training until game 162. I mean, obviously, some of us have days off, and Ronnie does like 100 games, and Keith does 110. But for the most part, we're with each other every day, and that camaraderie is so important to the product that people see on the air, because we all legitimately like each other, and that's not always the case in this job. And it's part of that is the consistency that we've had over the years. Gary, Keith, and Ron have been together now for longer than any other trio or group of Mets announcers ever, more than the original announcers now at this point. Our producer has been there since day one in 2006. I've been there since 2009. And that consistency is important. And it's work every day. Don't get me wrong. It is a grind, and it is every day, but we have a lot of laughs, and you have to laugh a lot in this job. And I think that comes across on the air, that we are having a good time. So
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. Where I watch mostly SNY, so I might not be able to have a fair
yeah,
comparison to the other
me too.
podcasts out there. But it seems as though you guys are a tight knit crew from like Gary on down. It
Yeah.
seems you guys legitimately like each other, and like you mentioned, at some jobs that's not always the case.
No, I mean, see, I'm sort of the oddball out with our crew, because SNY is the only job I've ever had. So this is all I know. If I went someplace else and saw differently, I would be a hot mess. But, you know, this is all I know. And I've been so lucky to be with this group that I'm with, because we all have each other's backs. Like when someone's having a rough day, somebody else steps up. When somebody makes a mistake, another person has their back. It's really it's a well-oiled machine. Like, we all know our roles, and we all are creative people, and we really work together as a team. Great. And that goes a long way in this business.
For that college student majoring in broadcasting right now who wants to be in your position one day, what do you think is the best route that they should take in order to get there?
I mean, if you can't get an internship with a a regional sports network, try local news, try anything that gets you into a control room, whether you're getting coffees or running a camera, like holding a microphone or doing whatever. Just get in that space where you can see the people like me, or the technical people that I work with, whether it's the camera guys, the audio engineers. There are so many jobs that go into making, television, look and sound the way that it does. And, you may not be able to start at a sports network. You may be on local news, but the reps matter. And once you get comfortable doing something and you can grow, there's always that next level of thing you can do. You can go from, you know, a runner who gets coffee to a utility who runs cables and deals with microphones, and to, you know, to an EVS replay operator, to an audio guy. There's just so many jobs in this business that we really need young people to step up and start pursuing, because a lot of, honestly, SNY's technical core, they're not getting any younger. Like I'm blessed to work with them because they are the best in the world. Our camera guys and our audio guys and our technical director and all of these jobs that, you know, the technical jobs that work with SNY, they are the guys that worked with Bill Webb, and they've been around forever. And some of them are kind of scaling back their schedules. And I'm like, we need to start, you know, working in some younger people here to make sure we're covered when these people start to retire. So I'm always looking for the next, you know, young person to step up and do a good job. And that starts with, you know, getting in on the ground floor like I did, you know, whether it's an internship or a runner. And I would highly recommend doing either, you know, pursuing an internship or seeking out a job as a runner. Because that's really the entry level, you know, technical or production job, is the runner or utility.
What would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned?
The most important lesson that I've learned. That's a good question. The most important lesson I've learned from SNY or in my career. I would say in this business, it's a very funny business. This is because in this business, there's always an open mic. So don't burn bridges and don't say anything that you wouldn't say to somebody's face, because just like any job, when you get enough people, you know, in a room, there are politics, and you have to play the game a little bit when it comes to, you know, management or technical crew, or because we go to these cities, you know, all over the country, and we work with people that we don't know well. You know, you have to kind of sort of mold yourself to them a little bit. So I think, I guess my best advice would be to be pliable, don't have an ego, and don't burn bridges, because it's a small world, this production deal, this TV broadcast deal, and everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So you got to be really careful. Also, never say no. Really, like within reason. Obviously, you have to be careful saying that now. Never say no, whether it's to go get a hot dog at the ballpark. You know how many hot dogs I got Bill Webb during my internship? I probably 24 hot dogs. I can tell you exactly how he likes it. I can tell you exactly how he likes his coffee. Like, I did all that, and I paid my dues. And, you know, when you see an opportunity, pounce. Like, even if you don't know the job, pounce. Like, hey, do you know how to do you know, what would it be? What would be now? You know, do you know how to do A2? Can you hold a boom mic? Sure, absolutely. I've done that before. Just do it. Just do it once. Now you have experience. You know, don't say no. If you see an opening, take it.
But I think that's very good advice.
Wow. Yeah, and because opportunities come when you least expect them. Like, you know, like it could be I remember at the end of my internship, you know, at the end of a series, you have to break down a truck, and I helped breaking down the truck, even though didn't know what the hell I was doing. And SNY operations invited me down to, after my internship, invited me to be a runner in Miami and Chicago towards the end of the season after my internship was over, to get paid freelance, because they saw me taking the initiative and helping break down the truck after, you know, a series. And so it's just like, you never know who's watching and who's paying attention. And I'm in the other, you know, the shoes on the other foot now. Like, and we have, you know, a batch of interns come every year, and some of them, the names you remember because of the little things that they do. It's it doesn't take much sometimes. It could be the little things. So whether it's a big or little thing, I would just say be great. What, and you never know who's watching. So.
And my final question: if you could be at 5 major sporting events throughout the history of sports, what would they be?
Oh man, 5 major sporting events throughout the history of sports. Whew, man. Well, so we can go ahead and cross off two and say that I would be at 86 and 69, the clinchers of both of those for sure. For the Mets championships. I'm also a Giants fan, so I would I would be at I would be at their first 2 Super Bowls. 80, so was that 86 and 90? So that's 4, and I got to pick one wild card here. What's the wild card I can pick? Oh, let's see. How about Babe Ruth's called shot at Wrigley Field?
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's a unique one. Thank you so much, John, for taking the time out to speak to me, man. It means the world to me. Yo, for real.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, anytime, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to talk to you, and all the attention I've gotten over the last couple months. It's been a lot of fun for me, and I'm glad you asked the question that you did, because I really it is important that the next class of broadcast professionals is motivated and wants to do it, because I'm not sure that the people even know that what's out there. So it's exciting that you asked the questions that you did.
I appreciate that. That's my job, man. Thank you.